Welcome to the Dad's Podcast, and if you hadn't noticed by the array of energy drinks we've got on the table, today's episode is all about one of our probably most requested episodes, and something we've wanted to do for quite a while. Caffeine intake, energy drinks, how it affects performance, when's the best time to take it, all these fancy terms and ingredients they have in them. Coffee, and where's that lie in the conversation? Pre-workouts, energy gels. We're going to discuss the lot basically today. But before we do, mate, how's your week been?
It's been alright. Yeah, can't complain. It's been a strong start, and I feel like it's been a while since we've done one of these catch-ups, hasn't it? So
it feels really weird not having someone else in the room. The last 4, 5, 6 episodes have all been with guests, and we were saying people are going to lose touch with what's happening. We've had some complaints about us not having our weekly catch-up. So tell us what you want to.
Holiday prep mainly. Going away at the start of June, so it's going to Rhodes.
Nice.
So excited. It's just going to be nice. Like going away for nearly 2 weeks and
awesome.
Switching off completely. So all guns blazing, mate. Ted's been energetic as always. Shared something on my story the other day. Just his imagination's wild. He never stops talking.
It's good at that age, isn't it?
It is good. I don't know where he gets it from, but
I think it's just kids in general.
Yeah,
I said to you before. Like, I think it's a shame that we lose that innocence of like how magical the world is. As soon as you grow up and it becomes about work, mortgages, life, it takes a shine off that imagination, doesn't it? And how, I mean, even like Santa. As soon as you find out Santa isn't real, it's a downward spiral from your childhood there.
How old's our viewership? I feel like we might have just crushed a few dreams.
Not that young, I don't think. I hope not anyway, with the language we have in here.
I hope not. But no, I've tried to combine the two. It's funny you should say that, actually, because I did a charity event for the old gym that I used to work at Firehouse. Did a 24-hour event, so I came back to do a few sessions, and Ted and Amy were there, and that's the first time Ted's really seen me work. And it was quite captivating, to be honest, to watch and ask him questions afterwards, like, did you enjoy that? He's like, yeah, I want to do that. And just to see that little glint of, my dad's doing this, that was quite cool. So
you're right. I mean, even here, I work from home, I do sessions at the house, but I don't think Harlow's ever been in a session. She's never seen, she sees clients sometimes coming in and out. If she's a bit cheeky and she comes downstairs, but she's never seen me actually work.
I mean, I said work, he saw me boss around some people and tell them what to do, but he, he's trying to do that at home with us now. But
it's nice for him to see you in that position of authority. Hopefully that gives you a bit more authority around the house.
I hope so.
I
hope so. I hope so. We'll see. But what about you, mate? Has it been a busy couple of weeks?
It has, yeah. Loads going on. I'm trying to think when the last time we had a catch-up was. A few things personally. Did a half marathon, the Sheffield half marathon, which was great. Really good time. Was super happy with that. 1:39 I got, which I was not expecting. I was hoping anything sub 1:50, so it just blew my mind that I could do something like that. But again, just shows it on the day when the kind of crowds are there. I know there's other athletes, how amazing that can be for motivation. I did my first pro doubles high rocks with Mr. Dan the Man. That was an interesting experience. Heavier weights, a lot of really fit guys out there. And actually, before our race went off, the first one of the morning was the elite guys. I mean, the super, super elite. The first race was the last qualifier for the Elite 15. And if you don't know what that is in high rocks, basically the best guys in the world, whether it's men's, women's, doubles, mixed doubles, they do like an elite event where if you're getting the best times globally, you'll go and compete at an event where other people like you, who are sick basically, go and compete against each other. And to see some of their times and the way they manage the exercises, again, just inspiring, really, really good. But also shows you how far off it you are in terms of competing with them. What else have we not to? Not Tissington, we did the Monsall Trail.
Yeah.
Huge bike ride, it was about 26k. And it was my way of working exercise into a family event. My missus, who I've mentioned a few times, is objectively against all forms of exercise. She likes walking, and to be fair, she has ran a marathon, half marathon, but she just doesn't get exercise and training, doesn't love it. So something fun like a bike ride, and I got the little trailer, the ones you can get on the back. So we attached that, and she was having the time of her life, mate, just flying down Monsall Trail. And there was a few times actually on the trail where you kind of come up against another dad. and he's with his like little family, and you're like, right, we're going to do him now, sadly, because I'm going to put the burners on. And it's a bit like when you overtake someone in the car, sometimes they're going at like 70, you're going 75, so you pull out, nice little steady overtake, and as you're overtaking, he just starts speeding up a little bit, just making it a little bit awkward for you. Same thing on the trail, mate. Pulled out, overtaking this dad, and all of a sudden, just starts putting the burners on.
Yeah.
I had to stand up, mate, off my seat.
Did you?
I had to give it some beans, mate.
You're not tempted just to swerve, just clip his back wheel?
We had a kid on the back, not in the trailer, but in like the seat you can attach. I thought that'd be a bit harsh. Kid went flying over the handlebars.
That would be harsh.
Yeah. So yeah, I had to put the burners on. He wasn't going to beat me, mate. There's no way.
No chance.
I would have absolutely destroyed him if I had to, and I did. But just to set the record straight. But he also, you see a lot of dads out there, and that's really nice as well. And there's loads of the kind of like families and things like that. But about 10 minutes in, I realised my seat was too low. So my knees were literally touching my chin as I was going up and down. Obviously, it'd been set to like a smaller person. And he mentioned it to me, the guy before I went out. He said, if you need your seat adjusting, let me know. Just completely forgot. Got the trailer hooked up. Too eager to set off. 10 minutes in, quads are burning. But yeah, it was all right. I got used to it.
That's all right.
Yeah, it was good. I'm really encouraging clients to go and do that now, because I think Strava said I burnt just under 2,000 calories.
Wow.
So we're out there for about 2 hours.
That's good effort.
Yeah,
I thought you can promise a picnic at the end as well, because that looked nice and scenic, mate.
We did,
stopped
but a
off.
picnic. Obviously, wasn't my idea, mate.
Yeah,
Mrs. straight away. Hamper out.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, it's good.
I did enjoy Harlow's thumbs up as well. You said that's what she's into now, isn't it?
It's like a special. She's like the Queen, mate. She doesn't talk. She just puts a thumbs up or thumbs down when she's feeling all right or not. But yeah, she's a proper little cutie, mate. Yeah,
bless her, mate. I feel like I want to tie in something topical to this energy drink discussion.
Okay.
How many energy drinks do you think it'd take to beat one gorilla?
It's the gorilla chat. There's so much of this online now, isn't there?
I'm into it though. I'm into it.
It's the 100 men versus one gorilla who wins. Do you know who summed this up the best? I've seen loads of people go to social media posting their thoughts. H, the rapper.
H, okay.
H, the rapper.
Right.
His proper, like, council house mank voice basically summed it up perfectly. He said, you can only logistically fit so many men around a gorilla. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the closer you get to the gorilla, those 100 men, the smaller the amount of men that can actually be in contact with the gorilla. So even if you had like everyone surrounding him in a small circumference, he's only in contact with like 15 guys at tops. So as soon as he starts windmilling, it's only really 15 guys against one, and then the next come forwards and the next come forwards. So it's never really 100. I honestly think you could put 1,000 men against the gorilla and he'd beat him.
I feel like when it tires though, that's my issue.
That's the big factor, isn't it? How long will it take before he starts getting knackered? I mean, it's a big, explosive animal that's probably good in short bursts. So you're probably looking at strength in numbers, but it's tricky. I'd love to know.
I would love to know.
I feel like this is a Mr. Beast podcast episode that needs to happen.
Maybe. Have you seen the people who are like, here's my list of 100 people? Have you seen it? Have you not seen it? It's like, here's my list of 100, and there's people just like, there's 20 in there who are just sacrifices. Just chuck them in first.
People just gone through their like enemy list. Yeah,
just horrible people, and you're left with like Tom Aspinall, Mike Tyson, just to finish them off. And
yeah, you put those at the end, wouldn't you? Basically,
you would. But like the evil people, you put at the front, just get them killed off early.
So they've gone through like all the people that deserve to die, and then at the end, it's like you put in The Rock and
basically, somebody who could probably choke out a tired gorilla.
John Jones at the back.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Why not?
Choke out a tired gorilla.
Choke out a gorilla. Yeah.
I really want to see this happen. I'm not gonna lie.
I can't think how it's going to happen unless it's just loads of people on death row.
This is going to lower the tone a little bit, but we've seen this other thing that's been going on social media.
That's where this is going to go.
These OnlyFans girls and like porn stars basically are trying to break the record for most amount of people slept with in like the space of 24 hours.
Oh, for God's sake.
And girls are really lowering it down. But there's like 2 or 3 girls that are just like doing these challenges and trying to like beat the numbers, and people broke it down like something like you've got like 3 minutes or something with her, and then the guy moves on. You wouldn't want to be the 1,000th man, would you?
So would you rather be the 1,000th man or the first against the gorilla?
For my life, I'd always say that the 1,000th man, but God knows what I'd come out looking like down there after that.
Because I'm married, it'd have to be gorilla, I'm afraid.
Yeah, R.I.P. Brad. That's the answer we should have given, sorry.
R.I.P. Brad. Mate, I mean, energy drinks, as everyone can see, I can't believe you just whip these out of your gym bag, mate. I can't believe you carry. How many we got there?
This is just this morning's stack, mate.
There's a lot of caffeine there, mate.
I actually went to, the Shell garage, and there's a very famous garage in Sheffield on Bramhall Lane. that stocks the most ridiculous selection of energy. This probably isn't even, I don't know, this is probably just over half of the ones they had. Within me like £30 budget, that's what it spread to, but there's a huge array, and I really want to just inform people today, or we do, in terms of like, energy drinks, and are they good, are they bad? Like, the amount of people that look at you like you're drinking a bottle of vodka when you have an energy drink is unbelievable. There's a real bad stigma around them, isn't there? But people who take them regularly generally have got some kind of system with them, when they take them, how frequently. We've had a lot of questions over social media around this, which we're going to go over as well. I do think that it's one of those things that we need to just bury and give people some clarity on.
Absolutely. I mean, in terms of your own relationship, I think I've wrote down here, you are Mr. White Monster, saved in my phone.
It's probably my most consumed.
What's your relationship with energy drinks in general?
For me, I'm a pretty standard one-a-day guy. I usually like to time it around 11 a.m. I've kind of just started to get that morning buzz dip, and it's not so late in the day that it's going to cause me to stay awake. There's definitely some research and some studies suggest that I think around 90 to 120 minutes after waking up is usually the best time, because cortisol levels have kind of spiked in the morning. That's when they're the highest. That's when it's going to keep you awake and alert. And then things start to dip a little bit after that. So maybe it's a timing thing with a lot of people, and a frequency issue as well.
Yeah.
Look, if I'm having a really tired day and I'm absolutely knackered, little ones have me up at 5, I'm working till 10, 11 o'clock at night, I'm going to double up. But I'm not really having it post 3 p.m. It's probably my cut-off point, I would say.
I'm going to say my relationship's probably a little bit different to yours in terms of I'm a bit of a purist when it comes to coffee. I'm much more of a coffee man. Like, my pre-workout is coffee and a banana. Always has been. Probably always will be, to be honest. And for numerous reasons, I think one of the key questions or qualms that we get about energy drinks is, well, they're terrible for you because they're packed full of sugar. And what would you say to those people? I don't know if you've got any stats on that, or because I'm happy to expand on how I communicate that to people.
Let's go down the route of what you'd recommend.
For me, I think you can go down the purist route, which is, I don't want any artificial sugars, but then that leads you quite a narrow path, if you like. Whereas for me, I just see it as I'm quite a mood guy. So like if the weather's nice, or if I'm PTing, I've got 3 in a row, I might have an energy drink just on like the second one, because especially like a day like today, sun's out, why not? Like I don't want to be sipping a boiling hot coffee. You know, when the sun's out, and it's sometimes you do want those bubbles and that little bit of caffeine fix. I like it for that reason. Obviously, we can read from some of these that we've got on the back. There's some that have got natural caffeine, and there's some that have no mention of that and have things like, what we got?
C4 Cosmic Dream or something like that.
Yeah, we got Hell. We got
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of like random ones that, in my opinion, probably target the brand brash marketing of it rather than like the natural ingredients. Like there's one here, I think it's the Tenzing, is it?
Yeah.
Caffeine from green coffee. I don't know what that means, mate, but it sounds very
Well, this is a big topic for discussion, but I think let's start with like, why do people think they're bad? What is it, do you think, that people associate with the harmful effects of energy drinks?
I want to say it's down to the ultra processed nature of them, maybe. Because if you think about ultra processed food in general, that also comes with a bad rap. So I'd probably throw these in with that in terms of how people view it. A bit more whole, natural, single ingredient stuff. Coffee, arguably, is just one thing, done. Be done with it. Whereas this, you've got all sorts. I mean, I was having a little glance at, I can't pronounce some of these words on some of, especially on Monster in particular. There's all sorts in there that. In like emulsifiers, you've got all sorts of stuff there. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe they look at the back of it and say, there's a lot of things in here that I don't know about. Like, what is this doing to my insides? So if I had to guess, that's maybe the general population opinion.
I agree with that. Definitely. The most harmful thing in an energy drink, without a shadow of a doubt, is caffeine. 100%. But we all drink, well, a lot of people drink tea, coffee. A lot of people get their energy from pre-workouts, other sources that have caffeine in. So it's a dosage issue, really. And nothing inside an energy drink, really, if taken alone, is going to cause any harm. The devil's in the dosage, right? And that's with everything. And whether that's the caffeine itself or some of the other things. I mean, you look on the back here and straight away you can see so many random chemistry sounding terms. I mean, things like malic acid, citric acid, betaine, sucralose, steviol glycosides. We've got sorbates, potassium sorbates, maltodextrin. We've got L-carnitine. There's an array of words that no one has any idea what they mean, and that's, I think, one of the reasons why they are put off by them. But just to kind of, I guess, put an overview on most of those, they're either additives, they're flavourings, they are preservatives. A lot of these things you actually also find in makeup. Malic acid, citric acid. These things are components, preservatives for makeup. But no one's calling makeup bad. No one's going, oh, you don't have too much makeup. Like, just a little bit's okay. People are saying that because you might look horrendous. But they're not saying it from a health point of view. Whereas when it comes to energy drinks, it's more of like, okay, that's bad for your health.
Could not agree more that you said about the dosage. Just like too much of anything is a bad thing, usually. Let's face it. And I think the hard bit is with energy drinks is, like you said, the stigma that comes around them. Like, if you crack open a can of Monster at 9:30, it's like you're going at races on a train, on a stag do or something, and you just get that nice little crisp at like... Yeah, but
I think there's that association as well.
Yeah.
Like, they come in cans, and most things that come in cans aren't good for us. Like Coke, for example, fizzy pop, alcohol. They come in that same tin associated with things that aren't great for our health.
The probably main benefit it's got is the recyclable. Not gonna lie, that's a benefit. So if you do have energy drinks, get it recycled.
There was a stat that come up actually. I think it was something like a reused can. What is it now? I can't remember. I think it's something like 95% of the cans. No, I'm going to butcher it. I'll pull it up. It's on my notes somewhere.
I think the short-term effects of energy drinks are probably just the same as maybe what you get with a coffee, possibly, in terms of from a caffeine dosage perspective. I don't know your thoughts on this. I've not really looked into it about how that can maybe affect blood sugar levels and that sort of stuff, with it maybe being packed with added sugars. Or we had this discussion before, like when it says 0 sugar, it's not necessarily 0 sugar in some cases. I'm happy to expand on that if anyone does want to message me, because it is a bit of a nuanced topic. But yeah, I don't know. It gets you thinking about maybe why people make the choice. Maybe it's just a taste thing. Like, it does taste nice. You're getting the effects of caffeine. Whereas people who maybe don't want coffee. I know you're not much of a coffee man, are you?
It's the only reason I won't have energy drinks, because I don't like coffee. I'll hands up, I've never had a single cup of coffee in my life, or tea. I think it was down to, in the mornings when I was a kid, Dad would come down, give me a kiss before he goes to work, and he just stunk of coffee, and then I'd have that association with bad breath and things like that. But then you get to a point in life, mainly when you have kids, and you're like, I really need a boost today. So a little energy drink just starts creeping in here and there, and then suddenly that grows from once every other week to once a week, a few times a week, and next thing you know, it's kind of in there. It's a daily staple. That's how it grew for me.
Have you got any horror stories about caffeine or energy drinks in general for you personally?
I mean, I think the worst I ever had was like 4 in one day, and I was in bed and I was seeing colours. It was not a great experience. But it's just one of those things, isn't it? I think I said devil's in the dosage, and alongside the caffeine, which is obviously not great in high dosage for things like heart conditions, that's the kind of the main killer when it comes to caffeine. Is people who probably shouldn't be on it, have got a high blood pressure already, and then they start having loads of caffeine. That's a recipe for disaster. There's obviously the effects of sugar, and some of them now are sugar free, some of them aren't. The ones that aren't will have a fair amount of sugar in there, and that is going to give you some energy in itself. But it's also one of the biggest causes of diabetes and obesity in globally. So I think if you're going to have them, there's no doubt about it, go for the sugar-free versions. Same way I recommend that clients go for a sugar-free pop, Coke Zeros, Diet Cokes over your original.
100%. And if I can lower the tone again, mate, I suppose my main story about over-consuming caffeine. Went on a night out, must have been 18, one of those first ones, and I still really weren't drinking at that point. No, lads were like, well, look, what do you want from the bar? I'm like, just get me a Red Bull. Get me a Red Bull. Right, mate, I must have had 6 or 7. And bad. You said like you could see things, mate. I was seeing sounds. I was like, this is wild. And I just got no sleep at all. Heart rate were pounding. And I think I worked it out. I think it were like, must have been 600 or 700 milligrams of caffeine, which for someone who went from 0 to 600 or 700 is not ideal, to be honest. And I'm pretty sure everyone's had, or everyone who's a bit daft like me and you, probably got a story like that.
I think when I was younger, like vodka Red Bull had just come out as like the main young, cool hit drink.
Yep.
And there was so much hearsay about, oh, you shouldn't combine the two. And I think that's still generally the case. I did have a look online about kind of recommendations of mixing it with alcohol. And it again all comes down to alcohol slowing down the heart rate, energy drinks and caffeine trying to speed them up. I do think it's a little bit of a sketchy one, but not going to lie, if I'm on a night out and I want to drink and I'm feeling a little bit low, I might have vodka Red Bull.
Why not?
1 or 2 is not going to do be a harm. But I know that there's a point of diminishing returns there, isn't there? When you start having too many, that night ain't ending at 3 a.m.
That would me, mate. My night finished at 8 a.m.
Did it? Yeah.
It was bad. Do you want a bit of an energy drink trivia, mate? Can I?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I just saw you searching for something then, didn't know if you wanted to.
No, go
fire
for
out
it. Yeah,
your
I've
stat.
just got a few stats up.
Ryan, true or false? Red Bull has been sued because it didn't actually give people wings.
Of course it's true. There's some idiots out there.
It's 2014. They paid out $13 million in a lawsuit for misleading advertising.
Really?
It's the most American thing I've ever heard.
It's got to be in America, hasn't it?
It's got to be. It's got to be.
It's got to be in Florida as well.
All sorts of wild stuff happens in Florida. But
Have you been? No, I've been to Florida. Yeah, I have when I was a kid. I went to Disneyland. But have you seen that thing where if you Google your date of birth and just type in Florida news, it will pull you up a random story, and pretty much on every single day of the year, there is something that's happened in the last 50 years in Florida.
Just something random.
It's just a wild place.
Yeah, fair. Probably in Florida then. Sorry if it's not Florida, but
throw them under the bus.
Why not? Ryan, what's more common in energy drinks, sugar or caffeine?
What's more common? In terms of dosage, in terms of amounts?
The question says, what's more common in energy drink, sugar or actual energy? Don't know if that means calories or not.
I'm going to say the amount. I mean, sugar's weighed in grams, caffeine in milligrams, so I'm going to go sugar.
Correct. Says 13 teaspoons per can in some of them.
Yeah.
Which is wild. I really enjoy these next 2 questions, mate, so I'll be quick with these. Which country banned energy drinks unless you have a prescription?
Wow. Somewhere that's got the head screwed on. I don't know. Sweden?
Close. Norway.
Yeah, it's got
to be Norway. It's got to be the Scandies.
Yeah.
And then last question, mate, is how much caffeine is in the world's most extreme energy drink? Is it more or less than 6 espresso shots?
I want to know what it is. I want to try it. Number one. I'm going to say more.
More. It's called the Red Line Extreme, which has got 300 ml of caffeine in one drink.
Wow. Well, the scoop of pre-workout usually has around 150 milligrams, doesn't it?
Yeah, 2 of them.
So it's got basically 2 scoops of pre-workout.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, I've pretty much tried that anyway.
It's dry scoop.
I've definitely done 3 scoops before.
Why not?
I know the best workout of my life.
Yeah. I think I might quiz done.
Speaking of amounts in things, it's probably worth mentioning that obviously energy drinks themselves have varying levels. I think from what I gather, and I've obviously haven't taken a lot of energy drinks in the last probably 18 months or so has been the kind of peak of my intake. I do have a little scan on the back to kind of see what's got more, and generally 32 milligrams per 100 grams is the usual standard. Some coming at around 30. The highest one I've ever seen, which I haven't got here actually today, is moose juice.
Moose juice.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it on the podcast the other week. And that had 40 milligrams, but it was called extreme moose juice. So I'm not sure what the actual kind of, I don't want to call it FDA, but the Food Standards Agency, I'm not sure what their legality with it is and how much you're allowed to have in it over here.
I'm glad you said that, because the legality of it and the regulation is pretty Wild West again. There's not really much behind it. And I suppose one of my gripes to talk about today was kids and maybe how it's marketed to kids, how kids are probably latching onto caffeine, and mate, kids ain't got a 9 to 5. Kids don't need caffeine. Come on. But unfortunately they are exposed to it. They're marketed quite heavy. I just look at this on this table, mate, the 10-year-old in me just wants to try one of these colourful ones, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, 100% the colours really stand out to kids, and they know what they're doing, of course. I didn't really, I'm not sure, we could probably do a quick chat GPT search now, but I'm not sure who are the biggest consumers of caffeine. While I'm doing this, just tell us your story about the 9-year-old taking it into school.
So I spoke to one of my clients who mentioned that she spoke to her 9-year-old, which was very kind of her to do, just for a bit of research for the pod, really. And she asked him, like, what do you know about energy drinks? And he seemed to know who the founders of Prime were, which for a 9-year-old, Logan Paul and KSI, they're clearly getting into the ears and minds of these young kids. And then they did confess that some of the kids put energy drinks in their water bottles to take to school.
Wow.
And at 9 and 10 years old, I'm really shocked by that, which I'm glad now that it's sort of banned in schools, if that makes sense. Like, a lot of schools are saying, don't bring them in, we don't want them anywhere near school. But I've got a lot of teacher clients, and I was asking them, and they said, look, the amount of kids who just say, yeah, this is what I've had for my breakfast, and some of them will drink like a white monster a long way to school.
Madness,
which is a bit mad,
madness.
And it's a lot of caffeine. Let's face it, caffeine is addictive. I don't know if you've seen this stat about some chocolates have got caffeine in it.
Yeah, chocolate does have caffeine, doesn't it? Yeah.
And again, it just sort of adds to that addictive nature of it. And I always joke saying that if caffeine was found now, if caffeine had never been discovered before and we found it now, I think it would be illegal.
Yeah, maybe.
I really do, because it's like, right, what does it do? It's addictive. It makes you more cognitively sharp, but it's very easy to overdose on it because you can just drink it. And you have to think, maybe that's not what we want to be giving people.
Yeah, no, I think that's one of the reasons why dogs can't have it, isn't it? It's something to do with the caffeine intake, I'm sure. I think there's some other things in dark chocolate that they can't have. I've just put up the stats here for energy drink consumption by age group. Do you want to guess number one?
By age group?
Yeah.
I'm going to say parents. I'm wrong, aren't I? Am I? 18 to 24, maybe? That
Bang
sort
on.
of age?
18 to 25 is the highest.
I wondered who were creating all those white monster memes.
Yeah.
Now I know.
It's me, sorry. Second, this is the shocking one. 12 to 17-year-olds.
No. Wow.
Yeah. 12 to 17-year-olds are second. 26 to 35-year-olds next. 36 to 50-years, and then 51 plus at the end.
I mean, shout out to them 51 plus. It's just cracking open.
That's going to go up as the years roll by. But I think that's why they're so popular now, isn't it? Because they're starting to filter through the years, and the kids now that rely on energy, that's going to be a lifelong cycle, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I think when I was a kid, your dad might give you a sip of his coffee, and I tried a sip when I was a kid, definitely didn't like it and took it no further. But I had friends when I was like 18 who would drink coffee regularly. Now I think the most accessible thing and the cooler thing to have is these really bright, cool, coloured cans. It's a popularity thing, I think, as much as anything else.
What's your views on, let's go back to those sort of 12 to 17-year-olds. Like, do you blame the marketing in terms of why they're over-consuming, or do you maybe, I'm not going to say point the finger at the parents, because let's face it, a lot of stuff in early years is model behaviour, whereas when you get to that 12 to 17, you are probably a bit more socially inclined, if that makes sense.
I think it's both ends. I think anything that's heavily marketed to a certain age group, especially kids, they'll pick up on. Kids aren't as savvy when it comes to marketing in terms of the effects. You've got this cool little thing that's going to give you loads of energy and make you bounce off the walls, and it's a bit like drugs, right?
Yeah.
Kids want to start dabbling in alcohol. They want to start dabbling in other narcotics when they're young, because they want to know what it is. It's this little forbidden thing that really under 16-year-old, is it under 16, I think, legally? Under 16-year-olds shouldn't be having. So if you're like 12, 13 years old, possibly younger, and there's this cool thing that you can buy on the shelf, or you can get your hands on at home, and you want to try it, you're going to want to, of course. Same with alcohol. It's probably no different to alcohol in that respect. People want to try it because it's slightly forbidden. And obviously, marketers, companies, they play on that, absolutely.
Yeah, just speaking of marketing, like I was just having a little read through this, is it Tenzing one, which I'm pretty sure was the first, what they call him, Sherpa to climb Everest.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody Tenzing, I'm sure it was.
Is that who he is? Is that the guy who started that one?
I think that's who it's named after. I don't think it started it, but I'm pretty sure that's who it's named after.
Okay.
And
He'll have shares in it, let's be honest.
probably. And I'm just looking at, like, I don't know, just how that's marketed. That's completely different. That sort of screams adventurer. Are you into your trekking? Do you want to be a bit more natural and maybe clean with what you're... Like, this has got L-theanine, which I speak about a lot, from green tea, electrolytes. It's going down the route of saying this is very natural, or as natural as it can be. Whereas, let's face it, Monster don't give a shit, does it?
No.
It's just like, there's them 3 stripes that look like Wolverine's had a go on it. You have what you want.
There's different forms of caffeines, like your synthetic versions, which obviously probably all these on the right here have. And I think if we just pull up some of the types, there was one I was looking at. I think it was this one.
It's like the C4.
The C4. So some of the synthetic ones are caffeine, anhydrous caffeine. God, these again, some very technical chemistry sounding names. Nicotinamide, cyanocobalamin.
I'm enjoying this more than you know, mate.
Me struggling saying these words. I know they're very synthetic versions. Your more natural versions are going to be found in stuff like, let's have a look on this one.
Yeah, what's that?
It's the magnesium water. So this comes from things like, so on the back here, we've got, I'm not sure it's on that one actually.
Yeah, no, that one's a good one. Yeah, there's a lot of like caffeine from green tea and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, green tea. There was actually a little note on here. So let's have a little look. There were some natural sources of caffeine, which we will go over.
Whilst you're just searching for that as well, just want to sort of shout out the fact that this is never like a fear-mongering thing. Like, for us, it's more just a case of making people more informed and saying, look, it's your choice. You can always take things to the extreme.
Yeah.
Of course you can. And as someone who has worked with people who are a handful of people who are classed as orthorexic, that will not have anything processed, or they really struggle to have anything processed. And it's a bit of a, for lack of a better phrase, it's a bit of a mindfuck for them. Mm-hmm. They look at stuff and they think, I can't have that because it's manufactured. It's not whole food. So for anyone who might be at that stage listening to this being like, well, I should just stay whole and natural. Not necessarily. Like, it's something to be experienced, isn't it? And we mentioned that peer pressure earlier, or that social inclination to be around your mates and maybe do what they do respectfully. Right? If I come round to yours and you said, do you want an energy drink? And I'm like, that's kind of you. Yeah, I fancy one. I'll probably have one.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And I think it all depends on where your head lies in the process scale.
Yeah.
I mean, some people, on a scale of like pot noodle to apple, some people are just really like, they won't really stray away from apples and really good whole sources of food. Other people, I think most people are in the middle somewhere, aren't they? And then certain people just don't give a shit. Like, they're happy to live off, pot noodles and energy drinks all day long. And you can normally see it, like, there's a certain like paleness to the skin. There's a certain like amount of acne maybe that they've built up from the oils these things produce. But I think, again, a lot of the research is quite futile, especially when it comes to additives, preservatives. There's nothing really solid to say this is going to cause like long-term dire consequences if it's consumed in kind of amounts recommended by the food intake companies.
Can we please coin that as the R5 index? On a scale of pot noodle to apple, where do you lie on that?
I've just pulled up actually so we obviously got like the synthetic versions of caffeine. These more healthier ones, and again, there's a lot of these companies now labelled as natural energy. They're going to have things like coffee bean extract. They're going to have green tea extracts, guarana. They're going to have there's one called yerba mate. I promise you, I'm not calling them yerba.
Yeah, yerba mate.
Is it yerba mate?
Yeah, yerba mate. It's
I've just called it. I just said mate. How northern is that?
No, it is how
yerba mate
cultured I try to be, mate. It's an Argentinian drink.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
It says this South American plant is known for its high caffeine content and is often used in energy drinks. It also provides a host of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants.
You see a lot of the footballers drinking it.
Okay.
They're almost cupping like it's not like a tiki mug. It's almost like a steel thing. I'm gonna have to Google it. I'm gonna have to show it you.
Okay.
But it looks pretty cool.
Cola nut is another one. Cola nut is another traditional source of caffeine used in drinks like cola. It contains caffeine, theobromine. It also has active compounds that stimulate the central nervous system. So these kind of more health conscious energy drinks, if you are concerned about the processed element of energy drinks, definitely stick to stuff like this. These healthier natural sources will be better for you. They're going to be less processed. They're going to have more natural sources of caffeine, less synthetic versions. But honestly, again, it all comes down to dosage. Like I do think even if you're just having one a day,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be too caught up. I really wouldn't. That's my personal opinion on it.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And I think, like, have you tried that? I keep shouting it out, but that Tenzing one, for example, because I'd say it's similar to.
I'm about to.
Go on. Oh, that noise. Sounds like it's on a stag do. It tastes, in my opinion, very similar to what the Newbury one when we had them on a few weeks ago. It's just different, isn't it?
It tastes healthier. That's the only way I can describe it. It's got less of a stingy, sugary afterburn on your tongue. Tastes more like just sparkling water. It tastes like a flavoured sparkling water. If you were to say to me this was just like a Volvic sparkling strawberry flavour, I'd believe you.
I used to love using the. I might try a little bit. Yeah. I used to use the analogy of, do you know I'm a Celebrity? When they've been in that jungle for weeks and weeks, they've barely had any sort of processed sugar or sugar in general. So when they have sugar, they've sort of desensitized to it. So when they have it again, it tastes so sweet.
Yeah, it does.
My mate did it. He went like completely zero sugar for like, I'm talking like fruit and everything. First time he had a raspberry again, he was like, that is the sweetest, sourest thing that I've ever tasted. And he says it's just such a weird feeling.
Just to come back to the obviously caffeine content. So one of the questions we got asked was around coffee, and there was a guy, one of my clients actually, Paul, who said big black coffee drinker, but occasionally, just to mix things up for variety, he'll have an energy drink. He tends to go for the non-sugar ones, and kind of what's our thoughts around that, and maybe even he might occasionally, if he's really low on energy, have a pre-workout. I think that's generally what most people live by. If you're a caffeine drinker and you're into tea and coffee, you'll probably drink some kind of coffee, you might have a few cups of tea, you might have the occasional energy drink, and if you're into the gym, you might have some pre-workout on occasions. So what's the kind of caffeine content, I guess, of all of these? Well, energy drinks generally, most of the ones on the kind of shelf that we've got here, will have anywhere from 30 to 40 milligrams per 100. A brewed coffee will have anywhere from 40 to 60, so the caffeine content of coffee is actually a little bit higher. And then pre-workouts can be anywhere from 150 to 300 milligrams per 100 grams. So have you ever, I know you've taken pre-workout, what's your experience with pre-workout?
The pre-workouts that I've taken in the past have made my skin crawl, and I now know why that is. Beta-alanine, yeah. And I think a lot of people blame the pre-workout or the dosage of caffeine, but it's probably not that. So again, I'd probably steer clear from it because I'll either mistime these things. The last time I actually had one was I was just about to start the Sheffield half marathon with my mate.
So you had a pre-workout before the Sheffield half marathon?
But it gets worse because this was my second half marathon. I ran it with my mate Luke, who lives in Florida now actually. So
okay.
Hello to Luke if you're listening.
Can't wait for his news story.
So he said, "Oh, go on, have this pre-workout." So we've had this pre-workout, and then the race got delayed because it was the race where there was no water.
Oh no, they got the water wrong,
mate.
That was a good few years now, wasn't it? Yeah.
We were off our head, mate.
It got cancelled, didn't it? The Sheffield half got cancelled, but I think most people still ran it.
We didn't know it were cancelled, so like we had some people on megaphones. We were, modestly back. We like to do some soul chasing, me and Luke. So we like to start further back than what we need to and overtake. But and I just remember like everyone going, and then me and Luke were just like, let's go for it. And then loads of people were saying, there's no water. And me and Luke were like, we don't need water. We've got pre-workout, we're fine.
I don't remember any water. I didn't pick up any water during the Sheffield half, no.
The really like heartwarming thing about that, where there were people lining the streets with water, just handing it to you.
Oh, nice.
Apart from, there was a Costa Coffee somewhere on Attercliffe. And there were a group of students and they had this tray, and they're like plastic cups, so we got them. Necked it, vodka.
Was it?
Yeah.
Sneaky,
just looked around and they're sniggering. Yeah.
Sneaky bastards.
Honestly, I was like,
gosh.
Jesus, thanks for that.
That is sneaky, isn't it?
Yeah.
Typical students.
Oh, I mean, it was good banter, to be fair.
I mean, as I say, actually, if I was a student, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, it were class, because just seeing people's like horror, because you can't smell it, can you? You can't smell vodka.
No.
So the horror when people nicked it and they were like,
I mean, you probably could when you put it to your nose. Yeah, that's naughty. That,
that would naughty.
Really naughty. I would have
that.
gone back and actually give them some if that was me.
I'm on for a good time, mate. I'm not unofficially on for a good time.
Coming back to pre-workout, I think having that before a run probably isn't the best idea, because you want to keep your heart rate low. Something where you're doing like quite a cardiovascular fitness-based session, it's about managing heart rate, right? You want to keep it as low as possible so you can push as hard as possible. Caffeine naturally will increase your heart rate. That's why one of the big components of fat burners is caffeine, right? There are massive amounts of caffeine in there. And I'm not sure if you've ever tried fat burners, but you'll be like shaking, like your hand will be literally like that as you sat here, because you're doing nothing but your heart rate's at like 150 beats a minute.
Wow.
And pre-workout kind of does the same thing, but pre-workout before weights can kind of get you a little bit focused, hence why the beta-alanine is there. Other kind of ingredients within pre-workout will help you just really kind of zone into your workout. But there can be quite big crashes, and obviously the more caffeine you have, the bigger the crash. And it's also worth mentioning that you're going to get that less with the natural healthier sources. So if your kind of caffeine intake and energy drink is something like a Tenzing or some of the other kind of health and natural energy sources, your crash won't be as much. So that's definitely something to bear in mind if you're quite bad with that.
You can also get a non-stim pre-workout, if you've seen these before.
A non-stim.
What's this? So essentially, it's got stuff like beta-alanine in it. There's some other ingredients in there that improves your blood circulation, which is what most people want for Arnold impression, the pump, without the caffeine. So like one of my clients, Sam, I introduced him to it because he used to love finishing work at 5, going to the gym, having a C4, but then it affected sleep.
Yeah.
So I'm like, have you tried a non-stim? And I got a lot of success from it because he got what he wanted from it. I just think that needs to probably get a bit more traction, I think. Yeah.
There's a lot more ingredients in these energy drinks and pre-workouts now that will actually increase vasodilation, hence why you get a bigger pump, because the veins are coming to the surface. They're getting filled with more oxygen uptake's bigger, and then you look cool afterwards. And it's one of the nice things about pre-workout. I'm not sure if you've ever had one where you kind of just all of a sudden start blowing up your vascularity. You look like 10 times bigger. The muscle is just swelling way more than it would. The pre-workouts can help with that.
Just looking at a few questions that we had, and I believe that sort of links to one of them, which is, I've never used an energy drink to work out, pre or during. Will it benefit me if I start? And I feel like you've given quite a good case for it there, to be honest. But maybe after a certain time. Like I've just mentioned Sam there, who used to have it like post 5 p.m. And I think I've said this before, and I always butcher the time that it stays in your system for, but I think caffeine can stay in your system for like 12 hours. So the half-life of it is obviously 6. If you have it at 5 p.m, you've still got half of that caffeine in your system at, how good's my maths here? 11?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, you have to think about that.
I think that it's a tricky question, and I have that a lot as well, where clients come to me and say, I don't take caffeine, I don't take pre-workout. I've heard you can get some great benefits from it. It gives you a better pump and increases the intensity of your workout. Should I start taking it? And I always give this advice with like a warning label, and I'll say it's a bit like a Pandora's box. Once you've taken something that can get you a bit more focused and can make that workout a bit more intense, it's hard to move away from that, right? If you have the most unbelievable workout of your life, where you're lifting heavier, you're focused, you're blowing up in terms of how you look, why would you not want that to be every single session? And so, again, with a warning label, maybe give it a go. But if you don't feel like you need it, and your workouts are good enough, they're productive enough, and you're seeing results, I'd maybe stay clear. I don't think there's any need to go down that route.
Have you ever tried going teetotal with caffeine?
I mean, I've not been taking it that long, like I said, maybe a year to 18 months, where I've been having them kind of daily. And I obviously miss occasional days. But it's never been a problem where I've been like, I need to come off it now. I've had a friend recently who had to come off it because his blood sugar got really high. So his blood pressure got really high. Went to the doctors, had these headaches. and he said, how much caffeine are you having? Well, I'm having like 2 energy drinks a day, and I have a pre-workout before my workout. And that was the main reason why it was all going tits up for him. So he kind of came off it. It was the most horrendous week of his life. He said he had headaches and all sorts of side effects, but everything went back down to normal. And from a health point of view, for him, it was worth it. I think he's now started to kind of taper it back in. But again, on a bad day, I might have 2, but that might be like once every couple of weeks. So I've never really struggled to sleep unless I had them a little bit late. So I've never had bad headaches. Blood pressure's pretty good. So there's never been a reason to come off them, really.
Another question we got, I think you got this one, which was, are they safe to drink at 5/6 a.m? Thoughts on that?
Is that when someone just woke up?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I've got my own views on this just for context, but...
Absolutely not. Probably the least productive time you can take it. Unless you are training early in the morning. Like if you're getting up at 6, you're in the gym by 7, and you really want that little boost and something to wake you up and get you focusing, there's an argument for it. But in terms of optimal timing, like I mentioned before, you're talking about cortisol levels peaking in the morning. They then start to taper down a little bit. So you probably want it as your energy levels are starting to dip, maybe around just before lunchtime.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one because I think of association as well. Like coffee, in my opinion, is, it's a breakfast thing. It's quite a big thing in Italy, apparently, where they won't serve you a cappuccino after 12, I think it is. They just refuse. They're just like, nah, it's a breakfast drink.
That's interesting.
Yeah, which...
and that's more of a cultural thing rather than like we're not allowed to.
Yeah, more of a cultural thing. But again, it's that association where if someone's going to have caffeine and they have the coffee as soon as they wake up, like you said, there's some scientific things that Huberman's really been banging the drum about, where you wake up, what wakes you up is actually that increased cortisol to say, get up. If you're sort of stacking caffeine on top of that, I don't know if anyone listening has maybe had that feeling of really anxious thoughts, like short breaths, racing heart rate. It's a horrible feeling. And if you're someone who struggles with that, it might be worth just delaying it. But if you're in the habit and you maybe want a drink at 5 or 6 a.m, I probably wouldn't be turning to an energy drink, because that, in my opinion, is I don't know, I don't associate that with a breakfast drink. Does that make sense?
I agree. It feels a bit, whenever I've had it kind of quite early on, it's felt naughty.
Yeah.
I feel like a bit like, I shouldn't be having this time. But I've got a rule with my energy in the morning. I will have it early if I feel like I really need it. And if I've been up for half an hour or so, 40 minutes, and I'm really struggling and I need something, I might have one occasionally. But I'll make sure that I've had water first. Because sometimes just increasing your water intake can get things moving in the body, can get certain nutrients flowing. So that's kind of my rule. I have to have at least about 500 mils of water before I have the energy drink.
It's one of my staples, that for all clients, like wake up, drink as close as you can to a pint of water, just because it is, let's face it, you've just woken up from a 7 or 8 hour fast. Do you know what I mean? No food, no water, no nothing. So
it gets things moving. It's vitally important, especially for energy as well. Really boosts your energy if you can just have which is funny because it's got nothing in it that specifically is going to boost it. But there's things in your system that can be start to wake up.
Yeah.
Really happy you mentioned that around the anxiety as well. And that's another case for people who probably shouldn't overdo it. If you're naturally a bit of an anxious person, maybe even have like a mental state that's not great at certain points in the year, I think caffeine intake can only exacerbate that for sure. So you've got to be really careful.
Without doubt. And I think just a quick switch out for that, if you've got that association of maybe, coffee first thing as soon as you wake up, maybe try switching to decaf. I've had this with clients who they're in that habit anyway, and they're like, well, I'll just have a decaf. And believe it or not, just doing that can obviously, it almost gets rid of that afternoon crash, just because of how your hormones sort of regulate naturally throughout the day. So it is quite fascinating. Yeah.
And sometimes as well, like it's a bit of a vicious cycle where maybe your anxiety is pretty good. Maybe it's kind of, it's in a good place. And then you start having these energy drinks and it affects your sleep. That makes you irritable. Maybe the quality of your sleep as well while you are asleep isn't as good, and then it becomes this cycle of like, I'm trying to get past this anxiousness, this is making me more anxious, affecting my sleep. So yeah, I think from a mental health mood point of view, be very careful.
I was just laughing at one at next questions, which is besides indigestion, is there a quicker way to get Monster into my bloodstream?
This was from a mate of mine who is not heavy, but he's like me. He'll have at least kind of one, maybe a few more a day. Let's go into the nuts and bolts of this then. Well, I mean, if you're willing to IV drip some white Monster into you, that's definitely the quickest way to get it into your bloodstream. Part of me would also love to see how the effects of that and how much quicker it acts when you get it into your bloodstream straight away rather than ingesting it.
But what did I say? Somebody, Joe, actually, I'll shout him out, Joe Lee, because we love Joe Lee. He says, have you had a frozen Monster mango into some sort of godly ice pop? I can imagine that being quite nice.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So you can get like lemonade ice lollies, can't you? I feel like maybe a mango Monster ice lolly would be...
I feel like we're just trying to fit Monster and energy drinks into everything now. Like, you might as well put it in, like, I don't know,
toothpaste.
Yeah, mix it in with your toothpaste. Like,
why not?
It is what it is. Drink it, I can.
Yeah,
it's as good as it's going to get.
But no, in terms of getting it into your bloodstream, I mean, yeah, IV is the only quick way. I think
pretty much.
Pour it in your eyeballs. Yeah.
What else? Any other questions we had?
Yeah, we had a few that I screenshotted you, which was how to get them out of your routine, which I thought were quite interesting. So for someone who is struggling with having them in the routine, I like the thought of that association again. Like if you are really conscious, hypothetically, let's say this person is having 3 or 4 a day, can you swap that out with some non-stim option just to get you used to it and just gradually start to wean it out? Would you have a similar thought process on that?
I agree. I think the weaning process is definitely the best approach, and like having a time of the day when you just have one. If you're on like 3 or 4 a day, I think going cold turkey is tricky because the amount of pushback and resistance your body's going to experience can be quite unmanageable, and it won't be nice. I think number one, tapering down in terms of your intake, but number 2, making sure that your nutrition around that is really, really good. So do you think about like natural energy boosters? Some of the things we mentioned, water, for example, switching to green tea or matcha, yerba mate, even just having drinks of that. Beetroot juice is really good. Chia seeds actually provide some energy. Bananas, as you mentioned, Brad staple. Nut butters, also really good. Oats, dark chocolate, apples, just all the really good high quality sources of food that might have some sugars in there, might give you a little bit of a boost. But yeah, I think that really, I honestly don't think anyone should be having more than 1 a day generally. If you want to maybe boost it to 2 when you feel particularly lack energy, but as soon as you start getting into the realms of having 2 every single day or 3 every single day, it's a bit of a downward spiral. There's going to come a point when you're going to have to kind of pull the plug on it.
For cost as well. I can't help but look and think it stacks up. If you're having 3 or 4 a day, like that's a nice meal out every month. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Yeah. We did have, speaking of foods that you mentioned there, we had a question from someone saying, do you need them? And then they've sort of gone on to say maybe just fuel up with slow release foods, and I'm going to come on to that in a minute. They've put like dates, malt loaves, nuts. There's a lot to be said about slow release versus quick release. So if you've got, I always use the analogy of jelly babies versus like rice, for example. Both carbohydrate sources. One of them releases very slowly, releases energy slowly into your bloodstream. One of them is pretty instant. You're talking, it digests very, very quickly, gets into your bloodstream. So
it's one of my favourite pre-run snacks, that jelly babies. I love a good jelly baby.
Love it. It's used to be in some races I used to do, some at 10Ks and stuff, they used to give you jelly babies afterwards in like the...
They're really expensive, jelly babies,
They are now,
of all the sweets, because they've got this like stigma, and they know it, like, we've got a good sweet, runners love it, so they've banged the price, unfortunately.
No wonder white race price went up. Packing them with jelly babies.
Absolutely, it's in the goodie bag at the end.
But yeah, like I just want to say that, because they call it the glycemic index, the GI index. It's worth considering that, especially if you're doing something long distance, like a big run or a bike when you went up Monsall Trail. Yeah. You're probably not just going to be scranning jelly babies for, the hours leading up to it, or the hours, maybe during it. Yeah, maybe during it. We had another question, Ryan, about how long / soon before a workout should you have one, assuming that you're having just the one, that is. What's your thoughts about maybe timing of energy drinks and caffeine?
I think if you train in the morning, I will probably stick to a healthier source. I really would. just to avoid that bigger crash. I think if you're a tea or coffee drinker, I'll probably stick to that over an energy drink. I think energy drinks, if it's all you're drinking, and you are a regular trainer in the morning, I think you want to try and get your body used to training first thing. And like I said, first thing in the morning, cortisol's spiking, so you should generally be relatively alert and awake. If in the morning you're feeling like you're not alert and awake and you need to go for an energy drink, the chances are your sleep quality is not good enough. So that for me is where we would start with that. If you're feeling like first thing in the morning, you're waking up at 6 o'clock and you're not rested and you need that caffeine. I mean, we all know those people that can't function without that morning coffee. You've probably gone down a bit of a slippery slope of not prioritising your recovery. So, I would say sleep is a main priority. And then maybe having, again, I'm a big advocate for delaying that caffeine intake until, at least 90, 120 minutes after waking up.
I think it's a great shout. And look, when it comes to that grogginess that you mentioned in the morning as well, have you seen the smart alarms you can get now that come with like the Apple Watches? Or
No.
I think Garmin do it as well, where if you sleep in an Apple Watch, it'll sort of, and you say, right, I want to wake up between 6:30 and 7. It will wake you up when you're in your lightest sleep. So I always try and get this point across to people. If you wake up in a really deep sleep, you will naturally feel much groggier. So just coming away slightly from caffeine, which can obviously affect sleep quality in terms of, quality and quantity. I don't know, I really like that approach. One of my clients told me about it recently, and they said they sleep in their Apple Watch and they just go, get me up between 6:30 and 7. Some mornings it'll get her up at 6:30 when her heart rate's sort of doing something that indicates she's in a light sleep. I thought it was really cool.
I love the fact she's got that luxury.
Basically, yeah.
I love that. This is someone who doesn't have kids, by the way, guaranteed.
Basically, yeah.
My little one's my alarm clock.
Which, one thing to mention as well about the timing of it, in terms of how quick caffeine gets into your system, it is fairly quick. I don't know your experience about it.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think within kind of like 10 minutes or so, I'm usually feeling the effects of the caffeine.
I will also say as well, if anyone has ever mistimed the caffeine intake, because it does stimulate your colon.
It does? Oh yeah, of course it does. Of course it does.
Of course. So it does. Yeah. So if you've ever mistimed,
I wonder what you were going down with colon. But I know. Yeah, of course. It's I mean, caffeine's well known for boosting that morning shit and getting it out, basically.
So just be careful, all right? Don't have coffee and squat before your morning shit.
Oh, the amount of times that I've woke up, maybe had one a little bit too soon, gone for a run, and really felt like I'm not running home because I have to run home. I'm running home because I need to run home.
That's it. And it's something to consider as well, because it's it's interesting. And it is also as well, caffeine, it is a diuretic. I don't know why I've not mentioned this before, but it encourages you to urinate more. So it will essentially dehydrate you.
Yeah. Everyone's experienced that. I mean, 30 minutes, 40 minutes after you've had an energy drink, you suddenly, the floodgates have opened down there and you can't stop weeing.
In terms of any other questions that we had, there was one about, I think we've covered this one actually, like the energy gels. I'm not too sure. Have the energy gels got caffeine in?
Yeah, I did a little bit of research on this. So it's a relatively new thing. Obviously, energy gels were around, and they're labelled energy gels, but they're energy not in the form of caffeine. They're usually in the form of carbohydrates.
Right.
So you're going to get somewhere around 20 to 50 grams of carbohydrates per energy gel, which during a race, when people run, is usually a nice bit of kind of sugar and fast digesting energy for the muscles to use and absorb. But recently they've started putting caffeine in there, and actually, to be honest with you, quite high doses. I've also mentioned in these energy drinks here, there's around 30 to 40 milligrams. In these small little sachets, you can get around anywhere from, I mean, the low ones are around 20, but some of the high ones are around 100 milligrams of caffeine. I've never tried the caffeinated energy gels, but I've been warned against them. I have been told that you've got to be careful, because if you're not careful, we talked about affecting colons and, being a diuretic. It can speed things up down there, and people have been in some pickles, Paula Radcliffe style. Energy gels. And to be honest with you, it was actually a really good question. And when I was doing a bit of research on it, someone said, I can't remember who it was now, but someone asked that, why would you not take an energy gel before a workout rather than an energy drink? And actually, there's a great shout there, because if during a workout your muscles need carbohydrates alongside the caffeine, because energy drinks with the caffeine wake you up, but if they've got some kind of fast digesting carbohydrates in there like the energy gels do, there's even a shout that actually energy gels before a workout might be a better option.
The northerner in me just says price.
Yeah.
So I look at like how much does a serving of coffee cost? Like, granted, you don't go and get it from Starbucks every day. If you've got a nice coffee machine at home, it could just be like the pods. We've got an amazing Aldi coffee machine. Honestly, it must have cost us like 60 quid.
Right.
And they did the Aldi coffee pods, and they're great. They must cost us like 30p a serving.
Brilliant.
Mint. Like, really, really good. I really enjoy that. Whereas you just have to do the numbers sometimes, and unless you go to Costco and you get the massive boxes of energy gels. But look, when would you say someone is... I suppose, why are these energy gels so popular? Would you say it is just the endurance guys? Like,
that's where they're most popular, yeah, for sure. I think they're most taken by people who need, number one, something they can carry around with them. Energy gels are a lot more convenient than a can, right? And I think that's probably the association with them, like being more of an endurance sport thing. But I actually think, like I said, I genuinely think that there's an argument for even gym goers to have an energy gel, potentially with some caffeine in there if you need it, with some like extra carbohydrates in. It's obviously not going to be 0 calorie, which I think people get a bit caught up on nowadays. And there's an argument that maybe it's not the best type of carbohydrate you can have, but how different is it to like the energy drinks with sugar? Do you know what I mean?
The downside of all this is we have no idea what the long-term effect is, do we? We have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky because energy drinks, I'll give you a little bit of history here. Energy drinks have been around since, I think, the 1960s. I know this because I did a little bit of research on Red Bull while I was getting my notes together. And I think Red Bull basically was invented by a guy it was a Japanese guy. And it wasn't called Red Bull. It was actually called something else. I've got my notes up here somewhere.
I'm looking forward to more.
It's called the Red Bull Origin Story, this one. So Red Bull appeared in the mid-1980s. It stood out because of its name. I'm going to absolutely butcher this German name, by the way. Dietrich Matschitz. I'm sorry if that's
Matschitz. Dietrich Matschitz.
Dietrich Matschitz. I'm sure that's how you say it. I'll let you confirm that in a second. Okay. He was an Austrian businessman who discovered a drink called Krathing Dang during his sales trip to Hong Kong in 1982. So it'd been in like Japan and those kind of areas for a while. And the guy that invented this Krathing Dang was a guy called Chelu Uvida, and he actually invented it in the he came across energy drinks and developed his own in the 1970s, and it was specifically to get truck drivers through the day. So truck drivers would be on really long journeys. He developed a way of keeping them awake and alert, and I totally get that. That's like, it's for a job, and that's usually where things stem from, isn't it? But then obviously these Austrian guys kind of rebranded it, relabeled it, took it global, and it's become the Red Bull that we know today. But again, if it works in one area, how much is that going to filter over into other areas? And that's what we've seen in the fitness industry.
I've really enjoyed languages with Ryan today. I feel like you've done really well, mate.
I'm not sure I have, mate. I think I need to go and take some... I'm not good at English, let alone their names and languages.
No, I love history of things, and I'm actually disappointed in myself that I've not done what you've done, mate, and gone into the history of Red Bull, because let's face it, mate, they're the big hitters, aren't they?
They are. They're by far the biggest company. I really do like them as a company. Like, we even had, obviously, I can't believe his name. James on last week. And he was talking about how his son is part of the diving team, and he's done some Red Bull events, and with him being quite young, only 17 years old, the care that they take and how well these events are set up and how passionate they are as a company to excel in sports. That's kind of their niche. But I do think that they've got some good ethics behind the brand as well, by the looks of things, whereas I think some of these newer ones, shall we say, are just there to kind of muscle in and try and compete. And it's probably a good conversation to have around like the celebrities that are involved with it now.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many people involved in energy. Like, I mean, Lewis Hamilton, right, has got his own brand of Monster. Tyson Fury's got his own brand. There's one that I actually forgot to get from downstairs. It's called Rumble. And it's by the announcer, you know, who's Bruce Buffer.
Bruce Buffer.
Yeah, Bruce Buffer's got his own one called Rumble.
Of course he has. Of course he has.
So everyone's muscling in, but I think it's because they are so popular. There's so much money to be made in these things. They, you know, look at the amount Red Bull make. They're huge, multi-billion-dollar companies now, and there's so much money around them, and so much marketing, advertising. I would love to know what Red Bull's advertising budget is. I'm sure I did. It was obviously I did graphic design at uni, so I specialised in advertising. So I do know. I'm sure there was a stat that came out, and it was something like 60-70% of their budget is for. So everything they make, their profit, they spend 60-70% on marketing and advertising. Wow. So they pile loads back into it. Hence why they do so many amazing stunts and spend so much money on it. I'm not sure if that's still the same, but you know, these companies know the power of marketing and brand and getting celebrities on board, having associations with Lewis Hamilton, who's a great figure. His energy drink, by the way, is absolutely banging. It's good, isn't it? Really good.
It's good.
So yeah, and then there's like different sectors and specialisms now within energy drinks. So you've got some that are going down the health route with the natural sources. You've got some that are now doing like specialisms within performance. So you've got some that are starting to bring in electrolytes. So I think there's one here. Which one is it now? I think it's...
it's that one, isn't it? Magnesium.
Yeah, you've got one that's like it basically says magnesium water with energy. So this has got electrolytes in there. It's got magnesium, which does contribute to the electrolyte balance. And then you've got ones that, like I said, don't really give a shit. You know, if there's one that's called C4 Explosive and the colour's Cosmic Rainbow, you probably know it's not going to be of the highest quality. And even like B vitamins, vitamin B3, vitamin B12. This one's obviously got magnesium in there. I think there's one here, the Huel one, which has like A to Z vitamins. It actually says on the front like 154 health benefits. So they're starting to kind of combine and weave their way into different aspects of health, fitness, and depending on what your goal is. Like if you wanted something that's a bit of a complete, all your vitamins, bit of energy, and it's not too bad, something like that might not be a bad shout. You know, you're getting quite a complete drink. It's probably even worth mentioning the new one. What's it called? What's it now? It's the one by James Smith and Chris Williamson.
Newtonic.
Newtonic, yeah. So they've started to incorporate nootropics into it. And nootropics are really good for cognitive function. So they're not just an energy booster, which will definitely make you more alert, but there's certain nootropic things you can put in there. I think ashwagandha is a really good one. I think ginseng is really good. These things actively try and boost brain function. And that will, again, combine with some caffeine, maybe give you a bit of an edge. And I think the ingredients and the quality of that are generally a little bit better. Don't quote me on it. But again, just two influencers, shall we call them, online, podcasters, whatever you want to call them. These guys, you know, understand the power of energy drinks, the money to be made. Maybe a little gap in the market with bringing in like the cognitive element. But big industry, huge.
Yeah. And do you know what? I think most of it, like there's so many... As you were speaking then, I thought, I don't really know where to follow this up because my mind's racing now. And I thought it might be a nice way to sort of transition into if you are someone who isn't sure about all this stuff and you maybe want to know what you're putting into your body. There's an amazing site called examine.com. It's like a purple website that you can just punch any... I don't think it's products anymore. I think you can put any sort of ingredient in there and it'll tell you the research behind it and it'll tell you the effective dosage. And what that can do is it can actually help you combat something called pixie dusting, which I've briefly mentioned to you before, which is essentially these big companies who can just sprinkle in a little bit of like L-carnitine. I'm not saying this brand does that, but they can say, oh, you've got L-carnitine in there. It's got it in it, but is it an effective dose? And that's what pixie dusting is, unfortunately. They can say they've got B vitamins in, but it could not be an effective dose. So you have to be super aware of this, how much is marketing and how much is just... You know.
We're bringing in the caffeine drinks now, as we mentioned, and now bringing in the supplement element. And the supplement industry is sketchy as fuck, basically. We know that. They do a lot of pixie dusting where you might get like an ashwagandha supplement, which is specifically for that specific mineral to boost brain function, cognitive ability, but the amount that's in it is so small that it wouldn't actually affect you. And this is really a big issue. And there's this big, it's business in general, right? You want to undercut your competition, you want to have the best price, but the product and the service is really being affected. So I think, again, just doing a little bit of research, if there's a website you can go to type in some of these brands and see which ones are better or not. But again, it still is a bit of a minefield, and it's just another complexity to energy drinks when you start to bring in vitamins, minerals, and other things that are going to potentially benefit you.
And there's tons of brands as well. Like one of the questions I missed off earlier from my quiz were, do you want to guess how many energy drink brands there are globally?
Yeah, I'll have a guess. I want to say over 5,000.
Says here 500 and counting, but
oh, really?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Wow.
I wouldn't be surprised. I had a funny feeling you're going to overshoot it.
Globally? There's only 500?
Apparently.
Really?
But I'm going to look into that
because
I'm now starting to question my own stats.
I would just assume that every country has their own people and in-house companies trying to compete with the big boys like Monster and Red Bull. But maybe the market is so
monopolised
monopolised by a few companies that's just what everyone goes for. I mean, let's be honest, I've been on holiday pretty much anywhere and been able to get a Monster. You can go every country, you can definitely get a Red Bull, there's no doubt about that, but Monster's everywhere now.
I'm going to have to learn Monster in Greek now for in a few weeks.
I don't know what. Surely they must call it Monster. They won't call it the Spanish version.
All right, we'll see.
Dos Monster.
Mate, have you got any other stats to reel off? Anything you want?
I guess just a few of the little things. One big shout out to George, who we had on the podcast. George Leatherland, who I had a little chat with yesterday around caffeine. Mentioned we were going to do a podcast around it, and he said that he had some iron issues. And he went to the doctor and he had low iron levels, and he found out it was actually because of his caffeine intake. And too much caffeine can slow down the absorption of iron, so that's definitely something to bear in mind. And all I said to him was, well, just take an extra iron tablet, mate. And he was like, basically what I did, mate. Rather than cut off his energy drink, I think he just took an iron tablet, which is probably what I do, to be fair. But
I've told you my random stat about iron.
No, go
on. I read this a few years ago now, which is when you give blood, it actually is really helpful for your iron production, because if you sort of think about you give blood and your body has to produce more blood, it essentially regenerates more iron and sort of turns over cells a little bit. Years ago, mate, men used to bleed a lot, used to fight a lot, used to bleed. Nowadays, things are a bit cushy, aren't they? So maybe it's worth giving blood, all right, if I can sign this off on a positive way.
Is that your kind of push for giving blood?
Giving blood is healthy, I'm just saying.
That. Okay. Yeah. Do you give blood often?
Do you know what? Since I've been on this injection for my autoimmune condition, I have no idea if I can give blood. I need to check.
I've just thought of a great meme there where it's me on a bed with an IV to giving blood. It's just white monster. Coming out.
There you go. That's the promo for this episode, mate.
But look, I think if we're going to try and bring an end to this and give our final thoughts, again, lowering the tone, but I honestly think that as a summary, energy drinks are about as harmful as masturbation. If you masturbate too much and too frequently, your dick's going to fall off. You know what I mean? And energy drinks the same. It's the devil's in the dosage. People can get addicted to anything, and unfortunately for some people, caffeine is that one thing, and there's some adverse side effects with taking too much of anything, whether it's the caffeine itself, whether it's the sugars, whether it's all this long list of kind of chemistry sounding terms on the back. All these things in crazy doses aren't good for you, for sure. But we shouldn't demonise energy drinks. If you're having, let's say, one a day, a few a week, that's totally acceptable. And you're not going to probably feel any short or long-term side effects. Not that studies have found anyway.
I've just got in my head, R5 says energy drinks will make your dick fall off.
We're not calling it that, mate. That's not our kind of, let's say a very clickbaity title.
It is clickbait.
Any final thoughts from you?
No, just, you know what, I'd love to know the people's opinion on this, because I feel like we've gone into a lot of detail there and I feel like it's needed. But some people might disagree. They might fully back it. They might feel like we could have done a better job. They might feel like we could have elaborated on certain things, but mate, I think that's been really comprehensive.
Yeah, and if there's any areas around this that you want us to expand more on, we can definitely go into more detail, whether that's through another podcast or messaging us privately. It's a big part of everyone's day, isn't it? And I think we want to know what we're putting into our bodies, but we just wanted to kind of give a little bit of clarity to what's actually in these things, how bad are they, and is it something you should continue taking or knock on the head?
I've known you a while, mate, and I didn't. This is the longest chat we've had about energy drinks, which shocks me, actually.
Yeah. And fair play to you, though. You know, you're always pushing my energy content by turning up to my front doorstep with a different array of drinks every week.
It's technically Ted. Ted sees energy drinks and he goes, Ryan would like that.
I'll have to thank him next time. He deserves a fist pump from me.
But no, just to encourage people as well, like, please share it with people. If you know someone who's maybe they have a lot of energy drinks, or maybe they're struggling a little bit, or they want to start easing off them, or just find out more about them, send them this.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you for joining us on the Fitness Podcast. See you next one.
See you soon. Cheers, mate.
Mega.